So, Kevin, to kick this one to you, who do you think won this blockbuster trade between the Nets and the 76ers involving James Harden and Ben Simmons?
It's not even close. It's Brooklyn. And for anybody that thinks it's Philly because they got a top 10 caliber player in this trade, you're out of your mind. We don't know what's going to happen with the relationship between Embiid and Harden is going to be. We know that Harden likes to run a pick and roll. We know that Harden likes to have the ball in his hands for the majority of the time, and Philly's been missing a point guard for a while. But, dude, Brooklyn now gets a bona fide shooter in Seth, a bucket. They get a big man to go alongside Claxton and Drummond. Now, Andre Drummond is not the Andre Drummond of the Pistons, but you're still getting a big to solidify the middle of the court on the defensive end, which is where they are struggling. And if worse come to worse, at least you're getting a big that can rebound consistently. He doesn't have to put anything out offensively to be consistent. We just need someone to block shots and go out there and grab boards. And then, of course, you're getting Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons already announced that he is reporting to the road trip with Brooklyn to go to Miami, I believe, tomorrow. So if you get a consistent ball handling Ben Simmons, you got shooters around him in Seth, you got Patty Mills off the bench, you got Blake Griffin, you got LaMarcus Aldridge, and obviously you have Kevin Durant coming back and Kyrie Irving on away games. So the pressure doesn't always have to be on Ben. Ben had to run the guard position. Ben had to run the focal facilitator. Ben can play off the ball. But if need be, Ben can be the point guard. I know that we've shat on Ben Simmons for months now, and I still don't respect the way he left Philadelphia. But overall, if Ben Simmons can give you 75% of an output, you still got KD out there who's going to get you 30 points a game. Kyrie Irving in half the games that are remaining, who can still get you 25 a game. And then, of course, you have good solidified role players. This is not close. This is not even remotely close. And I think that Ben Simmons getting mentored by a former point guard, one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, I think that he's going to start to warm up to a little bit more of an open relationship with his coach, as opposed to being yelled at by Brent Brown and then Doc Rivers coming in with an attitude or maybe a preempted, like feelings toward Ben Simmons because of what he's heard or how he's reacted. He's got a fresh slate. They're a rival in the Eastern Conference. They play each other March 10th, so a month from today, or 29 days from when you guys hear this or see this tomorrow, they play each other in Philadelphia and Brooklyn. So I think that this genuinely goes all the way to Brooklyn. And of course, I know it's not relevant because in the NBA, we have talked about this several times, Kyle and I. Draft picks get tossed around like nothing, but you also have to think about it. Brooklyn also got 2 first-round picks. So it's like, who really won this trade? And we can't forget, Paul Millsap is in this trade. Oh my God, Paul Millsap is going to the 76ers. He's going to help them so much. Yo, Paul, no disrespect, bro. You're not what you used to be in the Utah days. You're nowhere near what you used to be in the Atlanta days. I'm sorry, bro. You're kind of washed up. So basically, the Nets got 2 first-round picks, 3 players for James Harden. That's Brooklyn all day.
Yeah, I mean, is not really even a controversial one to me. This was Brooklyn, and it's not even close. So the way that I look at this trade is, well, first of all, depending on how you look at it, Brooklyn gets rid of their head case with James Harden, ships him off to Philly. Now, the thing with Ben Simmons coming into the fold is he going to bring that same type of drama to Brooklyn that he was kind of known for in Philly for the last couple months and really probably the last year or so. I don't really foresee that to be the case. I think he's going to be able to integrate into that lineup fairly quickly just because I think overall, I think it's going to be a better environment for him to possibly succeed moving forward than it was in Philly. I just think the relationship with the 76ers and Ben just soured to the point where the bridge got burned and there was no rectifying the issues that were at hand going into this season. They hadn't been fixed throughout the season. And I think for Philly, they just had to cut bait and just had to move on from Ben. Now, granted, you do bring James Harden into the fold, but he's a head case by himself. So that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But as far as the Nets are concerned, the Nets have a much more well-rounded roster than what they had just a couple days ago. I mean, Kevin, throughout this losing streak that they've been on, they've been getting destroyed. Now, granted, Kevin Durant's been out the last couple of weeks with a knee injury, and that hasn't helped. Kyrie's been in and out of the lineup because he can't play in home games. So it's really been left on James Harden's shoulders. And even though that they had been losing games, they were still competitive in some of them. But now I think moving forward, the winning opportunities that they will have at their disposal are going to increase tremendously because now I think they have a better roster. You got Ben Simmons playing the point guard position. You've got KD coming back into the lineup within the next week or so. You've got Kyrie in the games that he'll be available for. But the role players here for Brooklyn, I think, are going to make the difference in the long run. Just because when you add a shooter like Seth Curry, whether he's coming off the bench or he may even get some starter time every now and then, just based on availability of guys who are dealing with injuries, Seth can give you 15, 20 points and possibly a 25-point night here and there if he gets his opportunities. I also like the fact that they were able to add some depth to the center position because really Nicholas Claxton and sometimes even Kevin Durant will play that 5 spot, and they're really small at that position. But I like the fact that Brooklyn made that adjustment to get Drummond into the fold, and at least they'll have somewhat of a rotation at that 5 spot moving forward. So at least they won't get out rebounded to death in the games moving forward. So I think really when you look at it, I thought that Philly had a much more well-rounded roster before this trade. Brooklyn didn't, and now it's really flipped in my opinion. Now I think Brooklyn is in the driver's seat to take over. And I think Philly, despite the fact that they have a good starting 5, I mean, they still have guys like Joel Embiid. They will have James Harden, Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green. Those guys will still be in a decent spot in the starter roles. But the back end of their roster is going to be really weak. And that was the issue that I think that Brooklyn was dealing with the last couple months. It's like I said, now it's flipped. I think Brooklyn's really going to take advantage of it. I think Philly's going to probably, I'm not going to say fall apart at the seams, but I think they're going to take a step back from this trade in this season. And I think overall, I think the Nets are primed to possibly get to one of the top spots in the Eastern Conference towards the end of the season. Granted, these guys have to come back from injury first, like I said, with Kevin Durant. But I really do think that once they get everybody into the fold and they're able to lock down the chemistry, I think the Nets are going to look great moving forward. And I think they're going to be right in the mix to get back to not only one of the top spots in the Eastern Conference. I think it kind of reopens the door for them possibly getting to a finals this year. I really see that happening because of this trade that they clearly won, in my opinion.